Welcome to Moving Conversations, a podcast for movement professionals by movement professionals. If you coach, train, or teach movement, Pilates, or fitness, then this podcast is for you. With more than 60 years of experience in fitness and Pilates, your hosts, Brian Ritchie and Nora St. John, explore the science of human movement, diving deep into the facts, myths, and common misconceptions, hoping to spark thought and conversation about how we view fitness and movement. Now, let's jump into Moving Conversations. And welcome back to Moving Conversations. I'm Brian Ritchie. Joining me as always is Nora St. John. Good morning, Nora. How are you doing?
I'm quite well. Just got back from a bit of travel, and as did you, and teaching, and it was quite, it was refreshing. I was up in the Pacific Northwest. The weather was gorgeous. We went crabbing. We hunted for chanterelles. We saw some orcas. It was just a lovely time.
Wow. Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome.
Cool.
Now, in case you're wondering, for those of you not watching on YouTube, there's another voice joining us today. So today we're privileged beyond belief to have for our second interview with him, Tom McCook, and I'll let Nora do the in-depth introduction.
Well, I'll do a little one, and then Tom can intro himself. So I've known Tom McCook now for 20-something years. Tom's been teaching Pilates. He's got an incredible background in Pilates, in yoga, in personal training, in training for performance, in longevity, in resilience, in mindfulness. And he brings all of those things to his teaching. And it's one of the things I've always loved about Tom is there's no dogma, and there's no looking at things from one position. He's always got like all of his antenna going with everybody and all of his ways of thinking. And so it's always a wonderfully complex and rich experience. So we're so happy to have you again, Tom, to enlighten us and inspire us.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be back with you both. I always enjoy our conversations on and off the screen, for sure. So I've had a studio now for going on 30 years. With my wife Karen, and we have a staff of 15, and luckily I feel more inspired now than ever to keep learning and sharing and being in this path of helping people be a little more embodied and enjoy their life better through a healthy, mindful body.
Awesome.
Isn't that sort of the case that as we age a little bit more and we realize what's important, and also how important movement is for us as well, that we become more inspired. We want to learn more. We want to bring more to what we're doing. And we're not trying to keep up with the Joneses so much as we're just trying to keep ourselves engaged and enlightened and informed and constantly learning.
Yes, it's so true. And I just feel very grateful. Anytime I travel, I'm sure you guys do when you're in an airport or anywhere, you can tell, you just get the hit of why it's so grateful that we're in a profession where we use our body for a living, and we give people feedback and tools on how to be in gravity and do basic things better. Mm-hmm. I was home, and I was telling my family some things, and they said, why do I need to organize my body? That's what one of my siblings said to me, and I go, basically life is better when your body's organized, because not only organized, your brain's organized, you're more present, you have more facility, you respond better, everything's a little bit easier. Why wouldn't that be a great goal? You know?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we talk about that a lot, and I know we were just traveling also, and you're walking around the airport, and it's kind of like these guys are in wheelchairs, and these guys are sort of hobbling down the gateway, and you know, at this point in my life, a lot of them are younger than me. Like a lot of them are younger than me. And you see the challenges that not taking care of yourself leads to. You know, one of the things they talk about in terms of longevity stuff is you decline from wherever you start, right? Like as you age, things will change. Things will not necessarily remain as wonderful as they were when you were 30. That's the nature of it. But if you start at a better place, you have a much slower decline, and you're functional a whole lot longer. So that's kind of where we want to go.
So true. And also, you know, we can take for granted too, because we've been doing this a long time. If you're just approaching taking care of yourself post 60 and you don't have any understanding of your body, it's a scary proposition.
It is.
You
It
know,
is.
so lot of gratefulness I feel at this age of doing simple things well. So that's
Absolutely.
kind of a nice thing to have the bar low, but also have a lot of benefits.
So, one of the things we wanted to talk about today with you was basically a little bit of what we just talked about. So, how do you, in your teaching, how do you really inspire clients, keep them going, help them to understand what you're trying to get them to do, help them to embody the work that you're trying to transmit to them? You know, this we talk about this all the time at this point in our teaching is like, how are we more effective with our clients?
One of the things I do really quickly in a session is I ask the person, what do they want to improve?
Mm-hmm.
So I do my best to make it personal to them as soon as possible, instead of going into my agenda of what I see and what I think they need. Even though I'm doing all that internally, I'm actually evaluating them as they're speaking, as they're staying in front of me, as they move, as I give them some assessments. All that's going on. But if I don't help them make it personal to them, I haven't opened the floodgates of trust and personal interest and inspiration around, okay, this guy's going to give me some useful stuff that's going to help me do what I want to do. And sometimes people don't know. So I have to help them keep questioning. So, what would this help you be able to do? What are you missing? What's going on with you now? What are you avoiding doing? So start by really exposing, why did they come in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Even though that might be a road that's not a straight line. When they talk to me about that, they go, oh, my wife told me I should come in.
Right.
Which is fine. Whatever got them in the door, I even tell my teachers, it doesn't matter what got somebody in the door. Even if they say, I want a better butt, or all of those things are fine. But if we can hold in place that there's a lot more available for them, as a teacher, hold that broader view. So I always hold that broader view, but I also want to connect with them personally and let them know that I see them and I value what they value. So
That's very important.
I start there, and then they go, wow, this guy really cares. And I haven't even shared anything about anatomy or any of those things. And then if I do, when I give them an assessment, I'll tie what I see into how it's going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tie it back to what they want to improve. And then I'll explain to them, why is it good for your body to be aligned? People don't know. I'll say,
No.
I want better posture. They're mainly thinking of it from a visual perspective because they don't like the way they look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really understand that it's going to help them move better, have less discomfort, have better energy, all of those things. So I'll keep tying it back to why they came in. And then I'll guide them through, when I give them an experiential anatomy lesson, I'll explain to them how their nervous system works. I'll just keep it really simple. Say, you ever get a massage and somebody beats on your muscle and 3 days later your body's back to where it was? I go, that's because your nervous system wasn't re-educated. Your brain is making a particular choice because that's the best choice that it has right now. For whatever reason, I'm not sure what that reason is. So our job is to give it better choices. So for that to happen, we have to you've got to train your body to feel more and actually have a sense of where you are in space. So then you can direct yourself and get more out of every exercise you do. Would you be interested in that?
You make it valuable. You show them the value in what you're doing. And in doing that, giving them that value, they can adhere to it and also buy into it.
Yes. And not make it just about information.
Right.
Make it personal to them. Like, oh, wow. So if I understand how my nervous system works, I can train my body how to let go of neck tension. How cool would that be? Then I don't have to keep creating it.
One of the things I always say when I'm teaching teachers, and I see it all the time. So I want to bring this up very, very explicitly right now, especially for any young teachers out there, is very often they feel like they have to just start in doing what they do. I see a lot of teachers just like, okay, lie down on the reformer, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to take you through an assessment, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't ask them that question. They don't create that meaning and that purpose. And even when I'm training teachers to teach teachers, I always say, okay, so the first thing I want you to do is I want the sales pitch. I want you to tell me why this exercise is useful.
Mm.
I want to know. instead of just, okay, lie down, we're going to do this. Because what I find is a lot of teachers have an inherent understanding of why it's valuable, or they just believe their teachers and their teachers tell them it's valuable. They haven't embodied it themselves, but they're not able to basically say like why this is important and why this is important more specifically to you, which is what you're really bringing up, is that personal, customized approach.
Really true. And you know, in nowadays times, 80% or more of the clients that come in for private sessions have stuff going on in their body.
Yeah.
They have balances, they have pain, they came to us not because they just wanted to get fit, it's because they got something going on. So if we don't tap into that and own the fact that the session is co-produced, it's produced between the client and the teacher. It's not just the teacher fixing somebody.
Yep.
And if you approach it that way, like I've approached it that way, you develop these lifelong or these long-term relationships with people that really value their time in the studio. That actually is a whole nother thing of satisfaction and gratitude for the space you've created too. So that's part of the learning too, is to create the space for people to be safe, and also then you can dance, then you can have fun with people and well, let's explore this. What do you think of that? And I also do my best, and I also teach my teachers this, to avoid the pitfall of quickly going into having answers of why something's the way it is. So, you know, I'm not sure, it could be some things, but let's just see, you know, because if you have a quick answer that way, you're kind of making it up a little bit because you don't know. And I think a young teacher can do that because they think they need to know more than they feel like they do. So that can be a pitfall too. But in terms of the cueing, I use a variety of things. If I'm going to give somebody an anatomical cue, I always have anatomy, bones, or charts close by that I can show the person so they have a clear picture of what they see, and then have them touch their own body, use movement, imagery, and touch as part of the lesson so they can have no confusion. And then my feeling is that they can take it with them when they leave, even after one session. So they could take that understanding and go practice that stuff on their own, because if you come in 2 or 3 times a week in a 160 plus hour week, that's not enough. We'll need to move more, not less. And then the other piece is over the years, in the beginning especially, I gave people way too much homework, and they didn't do anything.
I do one or two. I try to do 2 things. I try to do one thing, just do this. And if they'll do that, then I'll say, okay, do these 2 things.
Right.
And then once I want to add a third, I take away one of those. Otherwise.
Build on success, for sure. And I think the other thing for new teachers is, you know, a lot of times, especially after COVID, people don't feel safe touching people. And I think that's, if you don't feel safe with that, that's fine. But work with a teacher that can guide you on teaching a student how to touch themselves in appropriate places, but then also learning some hands-on cues are invaluable for speeding up the learning curve, because you just can direct somebody's attention to something they can't sense as well really quickly. And that's, you know, my background in body work, I came into Pilates with that background. So that's a big piece of the learning curve too, is to give people tactile feedback.
I think something that you've been sort of going around with this is you come at it from an education point of view. I'm always surprised at how little our clients really understand their own body, not only anatomically, but what's going on. And much like I go out to the normal average everyday person and say, explain to me the combustion engine of your car. They have no idea. That's what a mechanic's for. But when they understand some simple basic things, they can really, you know, drive the car better and understand that. I think it's the same with our bodies. When we explain things to them on a level that they understand, we don't have to talk at super high levels. But when, like you said, you can talk at a level that they understand, feel it on their own body, feel how the body's moving, that experience gives them something that they can take away. And now they understand their body at a deeper level than they did when they walked in the door.
Absolutely. 100%. Go ahead.
So I want to ask both of you, because I think it'd be interesting to hear both of you. So let's say you're trying to teach some kind of anatomical concept, where their pelvis is, or where their feet, how their feet work, or how their hips work, whatever. What approaches would you two take? So Brian, Tom, you've talked through some of those pieces, but just get to kind of specific about it. Like, how do you help somebody understand how their hip moves, for example?
So for me, like if I'm going to give them a lesson on their hips, I would first, if I have the bones with me, I would show them the actual pelvis. I'll have them find where their hip joints are on their own body. And I've taught this to teachers all over the world, and a high percentage of Pilates teachers, movement teachers, do not know how to accurately find their own hip joints. And it's not bad teachers, it's because they were not taught how to find it on their own body. They could pick it out on a skeleton, but your ability to find it on your own body gives you the ability to understand where that primary movement happens. So now you have a focus of where to put your attention. So for a client to find that, they go, whoa, no way. And that's where the weight of the upper body lands on the legs. And for them to sense that and feel that, then now you've got their attention into where something is. Then I'll go through the primary movements of the hips, why they have their hands there, and then I'll build in imagery, mirroring with their hands. And then if they have questions, they come up, or if their form is a little bit off, I'll expose that to them. So they go, so notice that, see if you can feel that you're doing this right now. So I won't fix them right away. I won't like stop them midstream. I'll let them do it badly as a way for me to assess what's going on.
Right.
But them notice the difference when they correct themselves, and just keep it simple. But then it becomes interesting. Then they're like, wow, so then they're not just doing a movement, they're inside their own biomechanics. Then it becomes a whole nother world of that. It doesn't matter that the movement is simple, they're inside of it. Then they're actually in a learning state.
That's why you have clients for 25 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, if I, clients for the whole time I'm a studio for 16 years when I was teaching, and it's because they learned something new every time. There was something, got something out of it. They didn't come in and do a mindless workout. They got something out of it that they could take home and really learn. Yeah. So Brian,
I'll say one more thing. Not to interrupt you. One more thing I say to them when they're doing this, I tell them 3,000 concepts. So from a neurological perspective, it takes 300 reps of conscious reps to improve a pattern, 3,000 to make it an unconscious new pattern. So I say, this isn't a one-off right now. This is something that you're going to do, hopefully, a lot, and you'll notice change by the attention you're bringing to it right now. So it's just little tidbits of information that are like, oh, we did the hip last time. Why are we doing it again?
Right.
So because they don't know. They think they're being demoted or something. So those little pieces of understanding the nervous system are useful to feed them in at the right time. Yeah.
Really useful. Yeah.
Nice.
After you, Brian.
It depends on the client who's in front of me, how long I've known them, what their level is. A lot of it comes down to that. A lot of times go by movement first. I'll let them do a couple of repetitions, even a full set sometimes. I draw attention to what I'm looking for so that they can put their attention in their own body. So I could say, if I'm having someone do a roll up, whatever it is, I could say, okay, I want you to focus here. Because if you don't tell them what to focus on, then their mind is on everything else, but sometimes what I'm focusing in on. So I want to give them that cue of what I'm looking for, but I also want to keep it short, simple, and one thing at a time. I don't want to overload their brain. I find sometimes I think as teachers, people can get too heady and sometimes can, blow their mind, and suddenly they're overwhelmed by everything that they're trying to think about. And sometimes I just want to take it back to, okay, just move. And I'll make the movement smaller than what I'm originally looking for. And say, okay, I just want you to do this. Okay, now can you feel how your hip is sinking here? Can you feel that? And I'll explain. If I have the bones, it's great because I can do that. If not, I just use my hands and I say, here's your hip bone. And I'll explain how the hip is moving in the socket. I'll say, now, as you drop down, can you feel how that is moving? Can you feel? And they'll go, oh, okay. I say, now take it an inch lower. Now take it an inch lower, or whatever I'm trying to get them to do. And that way their mind is on that one spot that I'm looking for, while I'm looking at the bigger picture. Again, I'm looking at it from a huge global perspective, but I'm having them focus on that local focus here. And that may be all you're going to focus in on today. And then next time I'm going to change that focus a little bit once they get one down. I'm thinking of a client who couldn't do a lunge to save his life. And it took us probably 6 weeks before he could actually get it properly, because I had to keep doing one small thing at a time, one small correction at a time, without overloading him. And finally he was doing it. He said, wow, this just feels natural. This feels easy. And he's 70 some odd years old, and he can get up and down off the floor now. And he said, oh, wow, this is really valuable to me because I now have better function. But again, it's starting with one thing rather than trying to throw a bunch at him. So that's kind of where I come from, is small equals large in the long run.
I appreciate that a lot, because I think, especially when teachers are beginning, they can actually see if they can get people into end range way too soon. Instead of saying, no, the goal is to have this person move well and take the little pieces of progress so they can actually feel successful and embodied while they're doing it, instead of maybe irritated or overly sore after a session that doesn't make them inspired to come back either. That's a really good point. I think the other point that I was thinking about when you were talking is, after we've determined what this person wants, I might, because as we know, we live in a very distracted world where people are very stressed. The Bay Area, people are very stressed. I'll do something to take them out of that stress by waking up their proprioception, like tapping or, something to relieve tension as part of a warm-up. And then I'll just tell them, we're going to do a general warm-up right now just to get you in a good space so we can learn better and move better. Would you be open to that? So that's another thing that I do. And I do that with my groups and my classes. And, from a teaching perspective, it's half for me too. I'm teaching a bunch of distracted students. I'm not that excited.
Right. Your inspiration is lower.
So if I can set the tone to get people to make the transition from whatever they were just doing to come into feeling themselves, the class flows so much better, or a private session. So that's really useful too.
I think also simplification sometimes. I'm thinking of something as simple as like a squat. Everyone thinks that everybody should be able to do that. But for some people, they have a hard time negotiating that. They do it completely wrong. So sometimes breaking down just one component.
Yes. Yeah.
And that way, and building up on that, it may be one session that it takes, or maybe 5 or 6 sessions, but building up on that one small movement first. Working on the hip hinge, taking the bridge and using that to feel, do you feel how your hip is moving? Okay, I want you to feel the same thing now when we take you into a different position, maybe kneeling, maybe standing, whatever it is. So they can say, oh yeah, I can feel it feels the same. But trying to get them engaged in different positions, but the same type of movement. And, sometimes it's also just cut bait. If they're not doing what it looks like, sometimes it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's not working today. Maybe we'll come back to it later. Because sometimes I think our brains need time to process the information before they can really organize it properly. So sometimes it's like, okay, that looked ugly. And I'm not going to tell them that, but I'm thinking in my head, that's ugly. Okay. Next time it will look better. You're going to have a week to figure that out, and it will look a little bit better next week or a couple days or whatever it is. And then they come back, and usually they've figured out how to do it a little bit better at least. And then we can make more progress.
No, I appreciate that. Over the last maybe 8 years, I've been really fascinated with the feet. So a lot of my starting with people is just how they basically stand, and educating them about their primary 3 foot points. So usually that starts the plane of looking through their body, where like, how are they relating to gravity? And that's a big part of how I work with people, is how are they in gravity? How are they managing their body in space? And helping them understand what they're currently doing. And I might say something to them about actual center and perceived center.
What do you mean by that?
So if I'm shifted and this is where I live, even though it's uncomfortable, This is my brain's understanding of perceived center, even though it's faulty.
Where your hip is slung out to the side sort of thing?
Your ribs are shifted, you're just hanging.
And then maybe I sit with one knee crossed over the other a lot, so my sit bone's high on one side. So the body's going to adapt to whatever we do, right? So that's, a lot of clients come in and don't understand that how you're positioning yourself throughout the day, all day for years, has had a tissue change in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really trust what you think the center is. So that's a big piece of what I do, is actually help them notice what they're currently doing and what we're moving towards, and not making it wrong. Like, 'cause the body's, I'll also point out to them that the body's perfect all the time, meaning that the body's always picking the best choice that it can sense. It would never pick anything else. Our job is to give it better choices. So let's look.
Yeah.
Yeah, the body's brilliant. I mean, it's not like faulty that it made this choice. You could strap a yoga block to the bottom of your foot and your body would figure it out. It wouldn't be great, but it would find a way.
which is what it does, right? Bodies find a way. They go through the situation and they figure out what's going to happen and they accommodate to what's going on.
That's amazing. That's really amazing to think about it.
Now, something that you just said, I want to switch gears just a hair. For some of our younger practitioners, teachers out there who immediately feel like they need to impress upon someone, or that the person needs to feel like they're working out right away. And if your first session, which we've all done this before, is breathing, you're going to work on your breathing. And they walk out of there thinking, what the hell did I just spend the last hour doing? I did not work out. I wasted my money, da-da-da-da-da-da. If someone comes in and you're working only on their feet and they're like, I want to look better, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. A lot of newer instructors won't take that time necessarily to do that, because they're, they want to work out. They want to get on the reformer the first day or whatever it is. So how do you teach your instructors, or how do you work with a client who comes in who has certain expectations and you're going to sort of blow those expectations out of the water a little bit?
Now, great question. I think, if someone comes in and they really want to work out, that's their goal. I'm completely fine with that. So I recommend with all teachers, especially new teachers, have only allowed 10 minutes for your assessment. So that could be they filled out an intake, they tell you what's going on in their body, they tell you why they came in, you make their standing assessment, you have to do some movement assessments, then you get them moving. So you really take them in through a workout, and you let the workout reveal what you continue to work on, but you don't make it a workshop. You make it a movement experience where you're there to give them cueing to make their movements better, but also especially if you're new, you have a goal of giving them a balanced workout. And that should be the goal, is actually to get them through 10 to 20 movements, depending on the person. If they're deconditioned, it's going to be on the more towards the 10 side. But if they're fairly conditioned, you can get through 15 to 20 exercises in an hour, your first session with somebody. And I think that's totally reasonable. And I think it's a mistake. The mistake that I see that teachers make is they spend too much time explaining the movement, and the person hasn't experienced it yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's another breakdown, is like, I always tell the teachers, when you show somebody the exercise, show them 1 or 2 reps. Do not do 5 or 6 of them, and do not explain too much about what it's for. Give them like one answer. We're going to do rollbacks. This is to strengthen your core, mobilize your spine. Sit down. Here we go. So keep it simple, and then get them set up correctly. And then that way if you can minimize time in between the exercises, you have enough time.
And I want to pull a bunch of things out of what you just said, because it's so true. So the first thing is, don't over explain, especially before they've experienced it. And I've said this many times to teachers. It's like, you have just wasted that entire beautiful little poetic thing you just did. that means nothing because they have nothing to attach it to. But until they've experienced it, they got nothing. The other thing too is I coined the term assessorcizes, right? While I'm watching somebody move, I'm watching a move. And I think for a beginner teacher to have what I think of as a safe, balanced program, touches all the points. Even if things are really ugly, they're not generally going to hurt themselves. Like just, they can be funky. They can be all over the map in that first workout because you're going to be doing some light corrections and kind of figuring out where you want to go, but you're not necessarily going to be hopefully diving in and spending 25 minutes on footwork that first session. Maybe you do if that's what you're working on, but a lot of times you're going to want to say, okay, let's just go through all these and get a bigger overview of what's happening with them. Because it's also easy for a beginner teacher or an experienced teacher to dive into something, like they see one thing, they dive into that, and then you spend like the whole hour on that.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing and so those are also things that like just, take a bit. Oh, you notice something, work a little bit on that, let it go, take the next thing and let them really move. Because that really is the point, trying to get them to move as much as you can.
That's really great. The other thing that's really helpful is to use position change. Every position change is an opportunity to teach one movement principle.
Yeah.
If you're on all fours, teach them alignment, core activation. Teach them scapular glides. If they're supine, teach them pelvic curls as a prelude into spinal movement, bridging and all that. So you can use the position change to build in the learning around, the refinement with just as it being the beginning of the exercise.
Right.
So then
sitting.
Yeah.
How am I stacking myself up on my sit bones when I'm sitting? Where am I? Am I behind? Am I in front? Yeah.
All of that can just be built into the exercise and the change of positions, which can make the workout flow and not get laborious and too dragging or also too heady. Which is I think for teachers that are beginning, they have to be willing to say less and move more. And then I think if they, as I think in the beginning, people can find like one gear.
Yeah.
Like, here is 8 exercises in an hour, which is, it's okay. Nothing wrong with that gear, but you want to have like maybe 4 more gears. So the way to get you 4 more gears is to practice it on yourself and your students that are in training with you, or your practice students. Like set the timer. Practice getting quicker, and that doesn't mean talking faster. It means not wasting time.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I've even found with myself sometimes, with clients, sometimes you do tend to slow down and give them possibly too much time to rest because conversation takes in and things like that. And yet when I'm working out, even myself, I find myself going much faster because it's like, okay, next thing. And it reminds me that, okay, yeah, we can move this along. We can still talk, because let's face it, clients still want to have that relationship and that connection with us, but we can still keep things moving.
Right.
We can still keep the exercises flowing. So I've told my staff all the time, creating flow between exercises and your whole workout is really important so that they feel that they're, have that one thing's leading to the next, leading to the next, leading to the next. But I agree. I see it all the time. A lot of sort of stumbling and not moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think with the clients, and I think, for a lot of clients, their session with their teacher might be the most social point of their whole week.
Yeah.
100%.
You don't want to discredit that, but what I tend to do with people that are a little more on the chatty side, I'll say, okay, we're going to do 4 exercises in a row. We're building towards this thing. So we're not going to rest in between. You good with that? So I preset them.
Nice.
So they don't like let down and go, hey, how was your day?
Right. They know things are going to keep moving.
Yeah. So I think that's like how we can hold it where it's not from a tension place or an uptight place, that we're presetting their listening and their intentions a little bit.
Well, I think you said it best is you set up the expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is very important. I mean, like you said, with your assessment, I will tell them on the phone before they ever come in what to expect the first session. I give them the expectation.
That's
so
great.
that they're not going to be disappointed. They know what to expect that first session. And during that first session, if it is mostly medical history and all of that, and with some movement, I'll say, okay, now your next session is going to be yada, da, 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 and not every exercise, but we're going to go through this. We're going to go through that. We're going to have you this. I'm going to give you homework to do. That way, when I meet those expectations, I'm setting up the expectations and I meet them, it feels, oh, okay, this feels comfortable. Rather than, I don't know what's going on. Everything's so foreign to me. You're giving the expectations, you're meeting them. So when you just said, tell them what's coming.
Yeah.
Give them that. And so when you meet it, perfect.
No, that's great. That's great. And also make it, another thing I didn't mention is make it safe for them to say, that doesn't feel good.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of times clients won't tell you, 3 exercises ago, my back was killing me. So we need that up front.
Yes.
And that I find is tricky on several levels. So especially for a new teacher, but I think for any teacher, because you've got some clients who will, I'm going to say this in some funny ways, so don't take it the wrong way, but who will take advantage of that and is like, oh no, that doesn't feel good. Oh no, that doesn't feel good. Oh no, that doesn't, like nothing feels good, basically. And I've had a lot of chronic, I work with a lot of chronic pain clients over the years, and things don't feel good. Like a lot of things don't feel good. And that's challenging, right? Because then it's like, okay, how much do I, as an instructor, accommodate for that discomfort? And how much do I push through that discomfort? And that's a line you kind of have to find, right? I find with each client, you've got to find, okay, is this just them being scared of movement and afraid that it will hurt, even if it doesn't right now, because there's that? Or is this really something where this is a bad idea? And I find it takes 3 or 4 sessions with somebody to really understand where that line is for them and to know when I can push it a bit and when I have to really pull back.
Yeah.
And I find getting really solid feedback from the client is critical, but also takes a while to develop the communication so that I am getting accurate feedback and they even know what accurate feedback is.
Right. No, that's a really great point, is finding that window of tolerance, but also not getting caught in entertaining an unwillingness to actually work more as much as they need to. And a new teacher can get, I think a big mistake people can make is chasing pain.
Yeah.
Looking for pain, looking for discomfort, instead of, no, let's look for muscle activation and turning your body on. Let's actually find that. Let's find confidence. Let's find that, from the concept that your body is actually really strong. Let's actually hold that concept a little more as a teacher too, because if you're afraid, that's getting transferred too.
And Tom, I want to really call you out on that in a good way. Brian and I know Brian's teaching really well. He knows mine really well. We've worked so much in a medical environment that I have to really actively work on not getting pulled into working on their pain. Like that's something I really have to work on. And it's something that I know, like, I feel like you have a very natural way of we're just going to move and we're going to work for this and not giving, I would say, not watering the plant of pain, right? Not kind of giving it more life and more attention than it needs. I always find there's a fine line there. If you give it a lot of attention, it'll keep showing up. Like that's kind of the nature of pain. If you give it no attention, you often cause other troubles. And there's kind of like that. How much do I pay attention? How much do I kind of like, just, okay, you're fine. You're safe. I'm going to reassure you and we're going to keep going. I find that's a really interesting line that I have with, clients every day, pretty much.
It is. It's what's interesting about it is, like a lot of the Pilates exercises, the starting position, having people lie down on their back, seems to be a position that can make people uncomfortable. So a lot of times, if that's the case, if I have somebody who has potential back discomfort lying down, I'll spend the first half hour standing.
Yeah.
Or do chair work sitting, do core line, so I'll get them in a position where it's not even part of their mental thoughts. It's more about learning how to align their body and turn it on, and the pain usually doesn't even come up.
Right. So after working with them, you find this, the place where they're pretty comfortable and the
Yeah.
pain recedes because they're
Yeah.
not focusing on it. And the thing too is like what I love what you said about the chair and the core line, because you're doing whole body stuff.
Yeah.
And it is hard in that situation to focus on one thing. Whereas if you're lying down and you're like bending your knees and you're feeling your back on something, you're like, oh, my back, my back, my back, for example. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, because if you came in because you had pain, your mind can, reflexively be looking for it.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
And then the other thing, which is interesting concept, if somebody's never worked with somebody one-on-one before, then all of a
Mm,
sudden you're lying on your back with your legs bent, and somebody's sitting next to you, looking at your body. It can be
yeah.
slightly intimidating and
Intimidate.
overwhelming. But
Absolutely.
upright, and they're either on a piece of equipment that's occupying their attention, it can be a little more of a functional road in. So that's another thing, or even on all fours, whatever. So just that's another concept I consider is putting them in positions in the beginning that's going to hold their attention on in a positive light around what we're doing together instead of going into fear and worry.
Well, and giving them a non-vulnerable position. I mean, this is a little silly, but I know when we first were presenting the core line at different fitness events, right? You're at a fitness event. Nobody really wanted to lie down on the reformer in a fitness environment, which is this big, crazy, convention centers, because it's too vulnerable. I mean, if you're lying down, putting your feet on the footbar, like that's a vulnerable position. Feet in straps, forget it. That's a really vulnerable position. But
Right.
standing up, like, okay, I'm good. I'm standing up. I'm embodied. I'm safe. I'm in control of what's happening. It's a much more really powerful position to be in, to put yourself in. So
Yeah,
that's an interesting way to put that.
true. And those, to speak about learning too, the core line or even the OOV or these pieces of equipment that are inherently unstable actually create an attention grabber. Like you can't
Absolutely.
do these without paying attention a lot. So you
Yep.
don't. So we're educating them by having this whole nother separate system that pulls their attention in without us having to say anything, other than getting them set up correctly and keeping it safe. So I think that's a brilliant thing that I use a lot, and I value it more and more. Because I think from my own body, from my history, I'm slightly towards the hypermobile side. So for me, I need more stability and feedback, especially at this point in my life. So I gravitate towards those type of equipment that actually give me that feedback.
And I want to bring this up for you because I know you're all about the feet, and
Mm.
a lot of the feet are this incredibly powerful proprioceptive force in our body. But
Hmm.
there's all kinds of nerve endings on there that tell the whole rest of the body what to do, and however you land on those feet, everything else is responding to that.
Yes.
And Coraline is very similar, right?
Mm.
Except that now you've got feet, but the feet are also, at least if you're standing, you've also got like this instability there at the feet. And it enhances proprioception. I mean, same thing with the OOV, same thing with rollers and balls and other kinds of things. But that's such a wonderful place to get that really powerful three-dimensional through the hands, through the feet, proprioceptive feedback that makes your awareness increase. Right.
Yes.
And that's, if you're teaching somebody, if they can become aware of something new, then they can make a different choice, right? If they can feel it, they can change it.
Right.
And those tools are really key.
Right. And even coming back to just Pilates or what we began with how do we work with somebody, I think in your assessment or in your sessions with somebody, you can make it easily slightly unstable in your assessment,
Hmm.
which is another way to collect their attention. Have
Yes.
one foot off the ground, like all of those things that actually light stuff up in a way that they're going to get a lot of feedback, you're going to get a lot of feedback. But the big, most important point from my perspective is you've collected their attention.
Mhm.
That's where
Yep.
that's where the learning happens. So that's kind of like our goal. Our job as teachers is how do we get somebody to continually bring their attention back to their body, back to their own experience, back to how they're managing themselves over and over and over and over again. And as a teacher, we have the opportunity to help them do that way more than they probably would do it on their own in an hour's time, which is our, one of our value adds. So I just think that's, and as a, a new teacher, you can hold those concepts that it doesn't have to be hard or complicated, but it's, you're making change by helping them direct their attention to their body over and over again.
And I love the fact that you were saying in getting their attention to their body and focusing on what they can do rather than what they can't do, which I think all of us deal with clients who are in pain. Nora and I both do, mostly chronic pain clients, and their focus in their daily life is so much on that.
What I can't do. Yeah.
Right. And they're always looking for that. I just had a client leave me today that I put him on something. It's like my knee. And I had him do an exercise that was brand new to him. And you could see him trying to feel that. And I said, let it go. Either you're going to feel it or you don't. Don't make it happen.
Pain. Don't hunt for the pain.
Exactly. I love that term. Don't hunt for it. I said, don't look for it. It's either there or it's not. He was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And it's like, okay, find what they can do. What position does work for them? Because like you said, supine may not, but quadruped might, or kneeling might, or chair might. So really giving them permission to be comfortable in a situation where, let's face it, most people coming to us who are not fitness people, who are not Pilates people, they're already a little uncomfortable. They're in an environment that's not theirs, unlike us, that we walk into a gym, we feel naturally comfortable. I remember going to a fitness conference with a friend of mine, and she is comfortable in any room she's ever been in, and she felt incredibly uncomfortable because that was a world that was not hers. And it was like, oh, whereas for me, I felt incredibly comfortable. So clients that come to us, it reminds me, put them in positions where they're comfortable doing things that they may feel comfortable doing, and initiate with that and building on to that. Yeah. It's always an easy way to do it, to me.
That's a big point. That's a really big point. And what I find too, for new teachers, one of the struggles they have is when somebody can't do something well or can't do it the way they want them to, they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Or they don't know where to stop too.
And they don't know where to stop. They'll let them do it badly and go, oh, okay.
They beat it like a dead horse. They just keep trying it instead of, like you say, going to something else.
Yes, right.
Drop it, move on.
Yeah. Or even, and I think that, or even like basically teaching people how to turn their muscles on, which is a skill. And it seems like it's foreign for teachers in the beginning to teach people how to actually initiate a movement, especially like the back of the legs, or use their core correctly, or use their lats or their mid back. Like, how do I turn it on simply? Yeah. How do I get somebody to feel that? So that can be a real learning piece for teachers too, just to explore in their own body. They can even take out Andrew Beal's book, Trail Guide to the Body, and say, look at the muscle now, just feel it in your own body, feel the direction and how it moves. There's a great road for you to share with your client when they're doing something. If they're doing pulling straps and their shoulders are all forward, they clearly do not know how to retract their shoulders when they're fighting gravity and use the correct muscles. So stand them up, have them do it standing, then put them back down, see how it goes.
We were talking earlier, you said you went out golfing recently. How many people get what's called the yips by doing something wrong over and over and over again until they've ingrained it into their body, and then they can't erase it? That becomes their pattern.
Absolutely.
And I think the same thing can happen in fitness and Pilates, is that if you don't know when to cut bait, when you don't know when to just have permission to let the exercise go and find something else, I can't tell you how many times I will and I don't try and make the client wrong. That's a big thing for me. I don't want them to feel like they failed. So sometimes if something's just not working, and no matter what I say, I'll say, you know what? I got a better idea. Want to try something new? And I'll turn around and walk the other direction, and they'll follow me. I don't know where I'm going. I have no idea what I'm going to have them do. I'm just heading over there now, and I'm going to find something before I get there. But by recentering them and not making them wrong, but knowing, okay, that wasn't working and it wasn't getting any better, let's just change gears. and giving myself permission to just say, you know what, if for whatever reason that didn't work, we'll come back to it at a later time or a later date. And I think that's important for teachers to have that permission to just let it go and move on.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, that's huge in terms of like what I tend to do, which I'm just thinking about now as you say that, is in every position change for a client, if they're going to do pulling straps or anything like that, I show them all of that stuff standing before they lie down, because when you lie down, instead of people lying on they're already a little kyphotic or internally rotating their shoulders, it's not going to be an easy ask for them to
go
align
like
their shoulders.
No, and also to even see you from there.
Yeah,
right?
because you can't talk somebody through something when they're lying on their belly without showing them in a position where they're not like uncomfortable and a little distracted. So back it up a moment and teach them. Put your hands on the muscles that you want them to feel before you have them lie down. Have them do it without the straps first, just a rep, and see if it's still going okay. And then that doesn't take any time. That takes like 30 seconds. And you don't have to explain much. You just have to show them one rep, have them do it, touch the muscles. Now lie down, now do it.
Yep.
And it happened, and it just, everything changes. I still see students, because I teach a lot of groups of teachers. I still see teachers that are doing those exercises incorrectly because they don't have that awareness of how to really get their position before they even extend the spine. And that makes the whole exercise completely change. Even if you're using really light weight, like one blue, it's like, oh, okay, now I'm feeling what I should be feeling, I guess. And I think the other thing, if a client is saying, I don't feel something after a session, it's probably true.
Yes, that's true. That's feedback. Like, yeah, that's feedback you should listen to.
Yeah, so you can go, okay, so that would be good. Okay, my goal in the next session is to have them feel their muscles more.
Yeah.
That's great feedback. Instead of, oh, I screwed up, or no, I just got feedback because you're in this dance with another human being, of actually to help them navigate how to feel their body, be led by somebody else, and get the results they're looking for. So how do I tie that all together and take what they're saying in a constructive way, and also don't get too uptight about it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing too, which this reminds me of, is you're doing the best you can. Whoever you are out there who's an instructor who's listening to this, you do the best you can. And you're not always going to succeed. And your client's not always going to be happy with you. And you're not always going to get the results you want. Like, that's just the nature of our world. And some of it is, you are not responsible for their experience. You're guiding them towards their own experience. And this took me a long time to learn, which is why I always have to say it to teachers. Like, be aware of that. Like, whatever is happening with that client, your job is just to do your best to point them in the direction and give them other choices of something that they maybe are not doing as well as they could. Yeah. And if that doesn't work, it's not because you're bad. It's not because you're a bad teacher. You may not have the skills yet to get what you want to get out of them, but they also may not be ready to take that cue at this point. Right. One of the stories I sometimes tell is, I've got one client who I worked with for years and years and years, like 16 years. And one day she said, I gave her a cue. I'd cued hip flexion many times for her. It'd been 16 years. And I gave her a different cue. And she was like, why didn't you tell me that before? And it was such a good learning moment for me, because it's like, you weren't ready for that experience until really this moment. Because I've talked you through this process 100 times between now and when we started, and you weren't ready. Like your body and your mind were not prepared to take on that new experience. And today they were. Great. Now we move forward. Yeah. Right.
No, it's so true. That's a big deal. In this point in my career, I have people come in usually once every 6 weeks. I rotate through people that I see for private sessions, and I teach groups. And most of the time when they come in, I'm working on specific things they want to work on, whether it's improving their golf swing or they're working on some issue in their body. So I really let the client tell me at this point, and I think it's useful for young teachers too. Keep coming back to what do they want to improve, and address that. Even if you're giving them a general workout, address that as part of your theme.
Yeah.
Like really hold that. So you're really you're amplifying the attention by making it conscious that you heard them, and that you maybe somewhere in the session you say, no, this is going to help you with that goal you have. And you keep that alive, and then the session has meaning and actually momentum to it.
Absolutely. Again, it's
This comes
purpose
full
and
circle.
focus.
Yeah. And that seems to be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, very important to reiterate that, but at the same time also I find that when someone comes to me, for instance, they may have a certain goal today, but that goal may change down the road. And so I want to check in with them on a regular basis, because I'll be focusing on one thing. And if their goal has changed, but my focus hasn't, well, then I'm not being as effective as I can be.
Right.
So also making sure you check in regularly that this is still what they want to accomplish. Because like I say, that can change.
Right. No, like I have, as you guys all do, I have a lot of post 50 women that want to get stronger, and they've come in with being told they have osteopenia and they want to build bone density, and they've been told by listening to all the research out there that you lose a ton of spinal muscle mass between 35 and 70, and they're afraid, and they really want to make sure they hold on to their muscle mass. So in my groups, when I say, okay, we're going to work on strength, I said, just know what we're about to do is hard. And
Right.
it's
Nice.
not sexy.
Yes.
But it's super important.
It's just work, but it's good work.
Ton of reps, but for those 4 to 6 reps, I want you to fully bring it. Are you with me?
Nice.
I love it.
Okay. Oh, by the way, after they're done, we're going to do another set.
Yep. This is how you build strength, people. You work hard.
Setting them that, like, working hard and really bringing your attention to it is good, and you have to line up to it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's kind of
nice.
And I think that's a good pole a teacher can hold, to really hold that energy. Because if you're in the beginning, when you're doing warm-ups, it's a different energy. When you're doing simple footwork, it's a different energy. But when you're getting towards doing strength work, real strength work, compound movements, you want the energy to be up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's a good thing for a teacher, to change the tempo or change the tone a little bit, help the client up their energy so they're ready for it.
Absolutely. Well, we've gone quite a few different directions, I think. Really appreciated the detail from both of you guys, just in terms of these, many different angles and ways into enhancing your teaching effectiveness and enhancing your ability to really educate your clients and empower your clients. I always felt like this conversation could go on forever. But I really just enjoyed the many ways we talked about that. And hopefully you out there, whether you're a teacher, or whether you're a practitioner, or whether you're a mover, are just like, oh, maybe I'm going to work on that. Maybe I'm going to work on that. I hope this will give you some ways to move forward in your practice and just get more effective and efficient with things. So, I was really, really so happy to have you, Tom, as always. We look forward to having you again. And that was great.
No, this was awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. Hopefully, like I say, we'd love to have you again. There's so many things that you bring to the table, and I learn so much every time we talk. So thank you very, very much. And awesome. And thanks so much for joining us this week. You can always reach out to us through email, through movingcombos@gmail.com, or on Instagram. That's probably where we're most active for social media, Moving Combos. And For Nora St. John, I'm Brian Ritchie, and thank you again, Tom. We really appreciate it. Do me a favor before we go, though. Give us your socials. Give us where people can reach out to you.
Tom McCook on Instagram and Facebook. Centerofbalance.com is our studio, and I'll be doing a mentorship program in January for teachers that are interested in
fantastic.
Coming. So thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I look forward to all of our conversations.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thanks,
much. We'll
Tom.
see y'all next week.
Sounds good.